We'll be training today on the new, what you'll see here, the red with the D, the new Auto Apps dashboard. We're talking about shop productivity, managing labor inventory, and looking at labor time management. One of the things we talked about is how important it is for the service advisor to manage priority per vehicle and keep the technician updated when the vehicle jobs are sold. One thing that's critical with this is we don't want a technician to be assigned to a job that hasn't been sold yet, so it doesn't show up in TechConnect as a job for him to do and as sold, and because we want him focused on hours to be completed and delivered today. We talked about looking at shop productivity and technician efficiency. One thing that's been really interesting as we've rolled out this product in this reporting over the course of the last, in 2017 and now in 2018, and we have shops fully engaged in the process, is we're finding out across the board 30% of the time your techs aren't working on cars, and it's not the technician. It's your front office. It's your front people. And so we have to put the importance of having your service advisors fully engaged in managing your shop productivity. And because the bar you can move instantly is your shop productivity bar. And it is simple, and it's easy, and quite honestly, guys, no excuse. It's so simple, there's no excuse for you guys not to manage this. And as owners and managers and service advisors, if you're not going to be fully engaged in these processes, it doesn't make sense. It simply doesn't make sense. Because what you're looking at is a real shop that has 182 pending labor hours that need to be delivered. Well, you can't deliver that in a day. If you have 4 technicians that are 125% efficient and you're at 80% productivity, you still can't deliver more than 50 hours. So how do I manage that 40 and 50 or 30 hours you're going to deliver? What's your shop's ability to deliver hours per day, per week? And the only way to effectively manage that is for you to be fully engaged in looking at the priority of the vehicles that need to be delivered today, what's been sold, and what we call carryover. Carryover is the vehicle where the work's been sold, but you can deliver it in the next day, the next 2 days. You can use vehicle delivery notes to let you know anything about this vehicle, such as the parts will be in at 3 need to deliver So anything that has to do with delivering the vehicle should be added to vehicle delivery notes. And so everybody in the service center knows what's going on with delivering that vehicle. Your vehicle tag can be used for anything in a vehicle tag itself, if you're using vehicle tags or hat tags, or if you just simply want to use that it needs to be diagnosed. Then anything you type here would show up on the front screen, so you can real quickly see that vehicle note and you can see the diagnose. We've also added the ability to be able to add sub-priority. So like we talked about, you could have, depending on the technicians. So you'll notice that what we have is you're able to see the technician. You can see that Tony's working on that Subaru Outback, Jeff's working on this, Kevin's working on this, Joe's working on this. So you can instantly see. But what we wanted to do with the new dashboard, based on the input we've had from service centers using priority and carryover, was to be able to manage your technicians. So as we're looking in Tech Connect, and we saw that Joe's now working on that Jeep Cherokee, what we wanted to be able to do with the dashboard was to give you a tool that you can see each technician when they punched in the morning. So Jeff came in at 7:23. He started working on that engine assembly right when he came into work. He's got 3.0 hours finished, but you can see that Jeff's loaded up. He has 14.7 hours. He's got 28 hours of carryover, and he has 6 vehicles assigned to him based on priority. You can see Joe's got 12 hours. You can see you have a pretty strong tech load. Tony's is light because he's your oil change guy and your wash guy, so you can manage his hours differently. You can see that instantly that Howard's talking with the service advisor, and he has only 4.2 hours and 2 hours carryover, but he's looking at lots of vehicles. Now, one thing that we wanted to add was the ability for you to be able to look at your technicians and dance, what I call dance between your technicians. So if I wanted to look at Jeff and all the cars assigned to Jeff, I simply click on, and now it automatically filtered Jeff and lets you see all the cars that's on hold, what's carryover, and everything that's going on with Jeff. I can click on the dashboard again and look at Howard, and he's the one that we've got tons of vehicles on hold. So we're able to see based on the dashboard, based on technician load, and this becomes why it's so important to be fully engaged in managing priority hours and carryover hours. Because from this, I'm able to know if I get that phone call from a good customer or a customer that's out of town that's got a water leak and I just need to get it checked out. And I've got tons, and I'm looking at Joe and I'm looking at his priorities, and I know that if I pull him off of one of these 3 priorities, no matter what service advisor is attached to, that I'm going to cost him an hour. I can't afford to cost Joe an hour. So what becomes important is now I could look at Jeff and see that he's working on an engine, that I'm looking at his jobs, and I could, I could be able to pull him off, let him do a quick diagnosis, or Howard's my guy. And right now he's not working on anything. He's working as a service advisor with the service advisors, because he's basically my diagnostic guy, my shop foreman, my dispatch, and my fill-in guy. So I'm able to simply go in and know that I can take that car in, that Howard has got most of his cars checked out, because I can just look real quickly at what he's got going on, and I can go ahead and pull a car in for him to do. So again, managing the dashboard, managing priority and workflow becomes the key of the service advisor. The technician will not be updating vehicle priority. So if it's a waiter or a 1 through 4 priority, and so as we talked about, you may have a vehicle, 2 priority 1s assigned to a technician, or you may have multiple technicians assigned to a car. The priority has to do with the car. So this is why it's important to be engaged in the vehicle delivery notes, especially if you have multiple techs assigned to a vehicle, because it may be a priority to get diagnosed by Howard, but then it moves to a 3 because the repairs are being done by 2 other technicians, and you want them to be able to look at Tech Connect and know where they stand with that car. The on hold is simply the cars that are on hold. You're waiting for an engine. You're waiting for the customer to give you an approval because you don't know if they're going to have money. Expected in is that car that's on the work in progress that you've ordered the part for, or is going to be here because you got parts waiting for them, but the car's not on your lot. So expected in should be the vehicles that you have an open invoice for. So where we're seeing it is, if you're truly managing Service Connect correctly, you're not going to have, all your spaces are going to be filled. Now, for those shops that haven't yet engaged in wanting to use Tech Connect, this product becomes very, very good for the service advisor just to manage their priority per hours. And you could have a vehicle that's marked finished, but you still need to wash it. You need to do a final inspect, call the customer. When we mark it finished and ready for pickup, we're going to mark it finished in our rider. So you know that you could, it's ready. Everybody in the service center knows it's ready to be picked up. So what we're managing in TechConnect is your technicians marking the jobs finished. When a technician marks all his jobs finished, if there's multiple technicians assigned, then that vehicle will no longer be displayed on that technician, but it'll still be displayed on the technician that has the alignment still left to do. So with that, what becomes very important, and we can go in and we can filter by service advisor. So each service advisor can filter the vehicles that are assigned to him. And it makes it very easy to look at all your service advisors, but what we have found is most of your service centers should be managing, each service advisor should be managing the vehicles that they talk to the customer, and that is priority for them as they talk to the customer, but also managing the vehicles, whether you're in teams or whether you're working together to know exactly the hours per tech. We're all about managing the labor hours and how many hours can we deliver today. So with that, if Howard had come in and Howard had gone on and now he just started diagnosing this car and he takes action and he simply starts it, if we were to go back to the dashboard, you'd instantly see that Howard's punched into that job and when Howard punched into that job. So you see Howard came in at 7:23. He started working on Sue's Chrysler at 9:37. I've given him a half an hour to do it. And then what you'll see is if the time goes past the allotted time, the build time, it starts flashing yellow at you to let you know they're past those hours. So with that, what I wanted to get into with Service Connect is the new management reports. And looking at the management reports, looking at a real shop, I wanted to break this down. And what we've done is we've broken this down by the time clock reports, the technician closed invoice reports. This is simply based on these reports match exactly with what's in our rider. The technician finished job reports, these reports aren't in our rider. They can't match any report in our rider because our rider doesn't filter out the reports, the jobs that are only marked finished. So to be in our technician finished job report, the job has to be marked finished. And when you mark it finished in TechConnect or Service Connect, it updates that finished job date to put it on that report. And then a new reports that we'll start adding is the technician priority reports, where it just simply lets you see the priority hours, how many carryovers, how many vehicles are assigned to each technician. From there, we'll be adding lots of reports from sales reports, that type. But what I want to talk about today is looking at your key reports. So as we were talking about, and as we were looking at in shop productivity, we are talking about actual time, the amount of time your technician's at the service center. We're talking about vehicle time, the time the technician's working on the vehicle. We were talking about E-time, the amount of time he's not working on a vehicle, and then build time and time allotted or sold for that service job. So we want to be able to look at shop productivity based on actual time and vehicle time, why the technician's there that day. Technician efficiency is based on when the jobs are marked finished, so we can see the efficiency of those particular jobs. So with that, when we're looking at reports and we simply are looking at the time clock summary report, you're going to see the actual hours, and you'll notice, very important to us, that everything matches the reports and as we in the screens. So you can see a technician, in this case Jeff, was here for 43 hours. He was working on vehicles for 39 hours. He had 4 hours of what we call E-time, not working on the vehicle, and he was 90% productive. And I will say that, to get to 90% production is our goal. What you're going to find is your shop falls into that 70% production. Most shops that we look at, most numbers that we look at, your technicians are only working on cars 70% of the time. 30% of the time, they're doing other things. We can measure that. We can see that. These are numbers you've never been able to look at before. Now, whether you just do it with your two main techs, whether you do it with all your techs, that is where you have to start. Now, as we start looking at our technicians, and in through the time management, you can see the different reports. But what I want to state here is that's the summary report. We can go to the time clock detail for that week, and we can look at everything, all the time in for that day, what he worked on, when he went to lunch, when he timed back in. So you can see he was there for 43 hours. You can see his vehicle time. You can look at his E-time and how productive he was, all on one page. For those that we put this in the field that needed to do payroll, you came back to us and said, hey, I really would like to have a timesheet to keep a record of just his time hours, a sheet that he could sign that I could do payroll off of. So we created the new timesheet for payroll. And we've also made this now where you can do this for all your employees, whether they're a technician or a service advisor or just an hourly employee. So we now have the timesheet, the time clock detail, and then if you wanted to break the times by day and look at productivity by day and type of E-time, you can now see actual time per day, vehicle time for that day. You can see the days that he wasn't as productive, and then you can go into the detail of time management for that day, and you're able to look at each one of those days. And we'll talk about the importance of these tabs up here where you can look at one day at a time, both the time clock, finished jobs, and closed invoices. So one of the reports that became real important that you've been able to look at for a long time was but not accurately, and I say that because if you can clock into multiple vehicles, if you can clock into multiple jobs at the same time, you don't have accurate data. So when we look at closed invoices, you're going to see that the efficiency of your technicians is running about, in this particular case, 130%, which means they on closed invoices, we were able to bill out 39 hours. He was working on those invoices 27 hours. And what you're able to do is see that efficiency.